Chapter 3, Ajagara and the Tiger. It does not do to leave a live dragon out of your calculations if you live near him. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit. When Rohan Hanuman came through that kaleidoscopic portal, the tiger must not have moved at all. In fact, it looked very surprised to see him. It was at the edge of a faint arc of light, giving from the portal's vista on the world behind, which was a wintry scene from a primordial forest of firs. Through the portal, in the tiger's world, things were quite dark, with only faint splinters of illumination like stars in the distance. There was a moon, but its light was overcome by that from the portal. The tiger was facing away toward the moon. When he heard Rohan step into the soft heather of the night world, he turned fast, revealing a surprised, toothy maw hosting a blood-red tongue sweating saliva. The animal was heaving and looked as though it was about to bring up the total contents of its stomach. Rohan interrupted, and now the tiger's ears flattened and he tried to growl, but was already committed to the spew. Another shadow loomed from behind Rohan. He turned to see the silhouette of a dragon and instinctively jumped to the side, the mad-winged serpent Ajagara. The tiger managed to get the other half of a growl out as it finished bringing up its lunge. Like God's hands clapping, the light of the portal disappeared. Iris closed upon the dragon's tail, and with uncompromising strength, severing a portion of that tail long as a man from Ajagara's far end. This initiated a response from the dragon. The beast leaped straight forward with a reverberating cry, right into the path of the discomfited tiger. The tiger had recovered from nausea enough that he could rush the dragon in response. In such a way, the tiger managed to avoid being caught, instead sinking claws and jaws into the dragon's soft serpentine underbelly, which resulted in a percussive spurt of fire from the reptile's mouth. Rohan Hanuman fled as fast as his legs would take him from Ajagara and the tiger, sprinting uphill in the darkness. Without the light of the portal, things were more murky, but details emerged as Hanuman's eyes adjusted to the low light of a full moon. Had the moon been full when he went through? It was daytime before. Was it now night? The battle sounds of dragon and tiger echoed, indicating a wide-open space whenever this was. The dragon fell on his side and went to rip into the cat fatally with cave-sized jaws, stretching its neck to bite at its own long and snaking underbelly as it sought to grasp the tiger with all four limbs. The cat was quicker and craftier, managing to shred a patchwork of bloody wounds into the dragon's abdomen and spring away, a common feline tactic. Despite the darkness, as this happened, Rohan spied a large square of cloth sewn to a wound on the dragon's belly. This came away as the tiger retreated and its claws caught fabric. Ajagara shrieked. He could barely discern its massive, writhing serpentine silhouette in the distance, but seeing the fabric, he realized they must have removed the poison pill in time when the dragon was sick, bloated, and docile. They must have cut into it. Bold! But that meant the beast was injured. Months traveling would make it impossible for such a wound to heal properly. As the dragon bit and spit at the tiger, the large feline roared, bobbed, and weaved to either side, continually seeking to get behind the lizard. The dragon would beat its wings and leap into the air, turning on a dime, but the tiger would slash its claws into those leathery wings, undermining the dragon's strategy. Both mighty hunters were at a sort of impasse. When the dragon got a breath, it spit fire at the tiger, but although the cat must have been, it was fast and vicious enough to make it hard for the dragon to catch any wind, let alone enough for the fiery reaction its kind were known for. There was indeed something wrong, or right, with the air. As Rohan breathed, he felt increasingly strong, and his mind began to move faster. He remembered no dragon immediately behind him when he came after the tiger, and the tiger was right in front of him when he followed belatedly, as though it just stepped through. Rohan took a few minutes to follow. This meant something crucial. Though fast as his thinking was, there was no way he could puzzle it out just yet. His eyes were ever more accustomed to the moonlight. Now he could perceive a wide sea behind Ajagara and the tiger. Part of the light, like stars in the distance, were reflections from the moon bouncing off wave crests as they came into shore. Rohan, dragon, and tiger were on foliage at the edge of a sandy beach. In addition to illumination from vibrant stars in the great open night, there were moving, glowing shapes all about, though they gave off a fainter light. Their colors were purple and gold. Rohan was distracted by these for the briefest of instants, and that's when the power balance between tiger and dragon transitioned. The tiger realized he was outmatched by Ajagara, tricked the dragon into looking the wrong direction, then ran up the beach at full power, quickly putting a distance between himself, the dragon, and Rohan Hanuman. Ajagara spit a sphere of flame that faded before it could reach the fleeing cat. He began to beat his wings and breathe fast enough for liftoff, then unexpectedly stopped cold and turned his gaze where Rohan stood up the hill. His scarlet eyes narrowed, the golden crystal cube. Ajagara sensed the golden crystal cube on Rohan. Here was an unpredictable dragon, bloodthirsty and mad of eye. Ajagara would destroy Rohan before he could do anything to bargain using the gold. Then Rohan's eye caught the movement of fabric still hanging by a stitch from the twisting underbelly of the evil creature and silhouetted against the undulating moonlit sea. There was a possible maneuver. Rohan ran up and over the hill behind him as fast as he could, seeing that it was slight and gave on an even wider space. Gold and purple lights were glowing more substantially in the distance, describing a curved, rounded shape that became massive branching spheres. The glowing lights were like many fireflies, but they weren't, of themselves, enough to give Rohan a real idea where he was. He could hear the dragon scrambling up the hillside. A jet of fire belched through the night like a lance of death, hardly the span of a man behind. Now was the time. The dragon was on him, but hadn't looked directly down yet. As the hill oriented Ajagara's view several degrees higher, and Rohan had come down steeply on the other side, he knew he was out of the beast's line of vision. Hanuman saw the flapping cloth of the wound dressed in the beast's great belly and plunged his saber into it with intention. Ajagara made a sound like screeching metal, and his limbs began to jerk instinctively, clawing at where Rohan struck. Rohan anticipated this and left his blade in the animal, rolling to the side while the beast clutched ineffectually at the sword-sized splinter, wrenching its guts. Rohan ran fast as his legs would take him around the back of the terrible lizard's armored body. Still halfway over the hill, where its maligned tail thrashed angrily as it seeped dragon blood. From the belts crossing his chest, Rohan pulled 2 additional knives, their grip wrought to conform to his fingers' precise shape, a warrior's delicacy for his era. Rohan leapt to the armored back of the beast, sprinting to its front and using the knives to gain purchase upon the writhing animal as he stumbled over Ajagara's elongated, gyrating form. He barely avoided getting fatally clawed as he crossed over wings and past scaled shoulder blades. He had to get to the beast's ears. Dragon ears are basically little holes behind eyes and jaws on the back of the head. A dragon like Ajagara had ear holes wide enough to stick an arm in. True, the head of this beast was the width of several men, but Rohan only needed 1 ear hole, as behind a dragon's ear lay its little lizard brain. The dragon nearly crunched himself into a sphere sporting tail, head, and neck as he tried to clear his back of Rohan. All 4 limbs frantically swiped at him, but were incapable of fully reaching behind to knock him off. Salamander-shaped as Ajagara was, prompting the dragon to start limping in a circle on 2 to 3 limbs at a time, periodically standing up vertically on rear legs, screaming in pain at the sword in his guts, then craning his neck to bite at Rohan, alternatively toasting the air in empty areas where Rohan had recently been. 1 claw managed to catch the seam of Rohan's woven pantaloon along the back of his right leg, ripping the cloth and slashing him, but not seriously. This did trip him, however, and he tumbled over hardened scales. The reptile turned his head and lengthy body the other direction, now starting to contort himself spasmodically, but Rohan wasn't thrown. He stuck in knives and pulled himself ever forward, causing the creature to shriek and tremble and writhe. Rohan knew Ajagara wouldn't roll onto his back, for such a position would be one the dragon would have difficulty returning from and would likely hurt his wings. That's when Ajagara himself seemed to remember he could fly. The dragon began beating wide, leathery wings fast like a titanic bat, and Rohan felt wind pressing down on him, a force crushing him into the dragon's back. Now Ajagara had lifted from the ground with a fiery exhalation, and Rohan felt the shift as the mighty lizard's head became oriented toward the moon, drawing an arc with flame. He drove both knives into Ajagara's back and saw the moon begin to spin. The beast was flying higher and faster, round and round, straight up. Rohan wouldn't be able to hold on long. He pulled his left hand back and thrust it forward, barely managing to dig the knife in ahead before Ajagara swung his dragon body round. Rohan felt his own torso falling free. He gripped the knives as hard as he could. When his legs came back round again, he stabbed and scrambled, making headway before he felt the dragon start to list once more. This time, out of the corner of his eye, he was able to see the valley below as it came against the sea, and the massive lobed shape in the distance was more clear under moonlight, now appearing increasingly to be a tree of a kind Rohan had never seen. Great, tall, wide, distant, but still higher than the dragon as Ajagara retched, screamed, and belched fire, tearing toward the stars and scoring a spiral in the night as he flamed the sky. Ajagara reached the peak of his arc and began to fall back, wings fatigued, wounds in tail and abdomen, racking the beast with spasms. He beat his wings ineffectually, and the orientation of the moon fell away, replaced with sparkling water and ground, perforated by staccato glowing in violet and golden hues. Rohan himself pitched forward and used the momentum to scramble up the back of the dragon. Finally, he reached the beast's neck, withdrew the longest knife he still had on his own flailing person, and plunged his arm into the animal's ear up to the shoulder, letting go the knife inside the animal's gray matter. Ajagara howled and began writhing all wings and limbs at once. The ground was returning fast. Rohan let go Ajagara's neck and let himself slide down the armored back of the dragon, finally leaping clear when he reached the severed tail in an attempt to mitigate his fall as best he could. There was a deeper golden glow that was neither fire nor the fluttering light of the plain at the bottom of the valley. Rohan's fall seemed to slow, but he couldn't be sure. It was not entirely abated, whatever the case. He hit hard and was winded, but managed to roll in a way that kept him from breaking bone. He let go the contoured knives, hitherto gripped like lifelines. They fell on flowered ground. Rohan fought for breath until he could inhale again, flexing his trembling hands. The fiery beast made impact at an angle, face first, seconds ahead of Rohan. Its crash dug a trench of earth half as deep as a man, leaving behind a roiling cloud of rumpled flora and dust. Ajagara eventually came to rest in a crumpled heap of limbs, but was not done fighting. The monster was essentially dead, but its body didn't realize as much, nerves continuing to send electrical impulses to limbs, wings, tail, and head. So came much uncoordinated gesticulation and writhing. The creature spasmed in seizure, screamed, spit fire, rose to his feet, fell on his side, and shook a full 5 minutes before he quit moving. Rohan deflated into the well-foliaged ground of an unknown twilight land of moon, sea, and fireflies, intending only to breathe for a moment and let his mind catch up. For the first time, he noticed a smell sweet as springtime and twice as strong. He also perceived the dragon's claws slashed a wider bloody valley in his right calf than he realized under duress. But he thought he could manage well enough and began ripping strips of cloth from his right sleeve to wrap around those jagged bloody fissures in his skin. Before he could finish addressing the damage, that otherworldly glow returned, and a man was standing behind him, adorned in the style of the travelers, but without patch, stain, or flaw to his garments. Perhaps it was a man, for this person was man-like, but had the otherness. Most men don't effervesce light like some underwater thing. That was impressive, Rohan Hanuman. The man-thing glowed. Rohan was startled but unafraid. He stood carefully, adjusting his grip on the knife he favored. Thank you for helping me break my fall. Are you of the Timeless One, or against him? Insightful. This is the first challenge. But divers others await, traveler Rohan Hanuman, the spicer and the sly. For you have chosen the proper destiny. Yes, I follow the Timeless One. Am I forgiven? Name yourself. You broke my fall, but Could you not have helped me humble Ajagara? It was your battle, and I am not he who can forgive. As to my name, I have been called Advaita, the unique, as you yourself are unique, Rohan Hanuman, and have been made in this life for a special purpose by the Timeless One. And so I am here to protect you from what I can protect you from. But you are a capable man. Here, show me the golden crystal cube. Rohan looked dubious, but after a moment's consideration retrieved it, and it glowed as he brought it from within his vestiture. He could feel its energy pulsing. For a moment he was transfixed. Was there an internal light defining it before, as there clearly was now, in this twilight place? The cube always caught the light, but Rohan shook his head and handed the bright thing over. Advaita took it and looked upon it. The world where you now are has been pierced by that which produced this. What the 70 did not realize when they ignited their world-intrusive undertaking is that it was a success. But there is more between earth and heaven than man can know. Imagine a light which has more than height, width, breadth, and depth for dimension. Imagine it shining into this clear gold. Imagine it projecting each tiny dust-sized grain of gold that composes this cube, a quantity of particles like stars in the sky. These are the holes the world of man has pierced into this, the building place, where the Timeless One may build what he may build. And so the cube exists, as these punctures have initiated its individual particulate components. Now, things will come from your realm to this, and so things may come from this realm to yours. And through the pierced veil have come the fallen, who each claimed a head of the family, while the Timeless One only took one of the 70. Each of the fallen have imparted then their own broken way of thinking and communicating to the family that are become their chattel. So the tongues flee one from another. But you, Rohan Hanuman of the Travelers, are not affiliated in loyalty to either the nation of the Timeless One or the 69 of the fallen. There are some among you travelers who affiliate with Dark Ones. Your caravan did not. And this is one of the true reasons your son was seduced and did bring the dragon. You were being punished by the evil ones for not being of their number. Another reason for that punishment was this cube, testament to mankind's failure, or perhaps his success. For it was the fallen that seduced man into the undertaking to begin, so they could come through again. They have broken the intention of creation, and so once again have boundaries been realigned. But know this, Rohan Hanuman, the Timeless One makes what he will for his reasons. Before you have transcended life, this life, you will see truly royal gates greater than those of man, 12, and each carved from a single pearl. Imagine the monster from which such a pearl were withdrawn in the sea. This little cube I hold, like such pearls, is part of something greater, and mankind has been put to a purpose in their rebellion, much as an oyster under shell in the saltiest sea may create a pearl within its mouth. For the pearl is the self-preservation of such a creature, keeping detritus that would harm from being a harm, and so what was meant for evil is turned to good. You will take this golden crystal cube, Rohan Hanuman. You will take this pearl, wrought of men, and you will put it into its intended place within the city of the Timeless One. This is your destiny, your journey, and your purpose. I will be with you, but I cannot take the trials you must face away, nor keep you from all your purpose. I will be with you, but I cannot keep you from whom you must meet. I will be with you, but I can only restrain the messengers of the enemy, not resist or combat them. But there is this condition. You must at all costs keep this cube a secret. Tell none whom you meet of its existence, nor must you speak about it to any, whether they be messengers from the Timeless One, or those of your own kind who have become lost between the worlds. For if you tell, all darkness in this place will descend upon you. Look you round this world, Rohan Hanuman. Rohan looked. They were at the base of a floral valley coming against a sea with mountains on either side and an unbelievably large tree in the distance. He was totally alone except for the messenger of the Timeless One. There were fireflies in the distance, but none were nearby, purple or gold. Rohan said, "It is only we two. And so only we two shall know what this cube is, and what its secret is, and what your destiny is for its placement in the city of the Timeless One." Advaita held up the cube, then returned it to Rohan, who quickly hid it. "You are not a man," Rohan observed. "No." "You are from the Timeless One." "Yes." "But you are not the Timeless One." "No." "Will I see the world as it was again?" "You will not see the world as it was again." "Will day ever break in this twilight kingdom by the sea?" "You will see the moments before the dawn, but not full day, in this place. Morning twilight will mark a halfway point for your journey, and you must pay close attention when this happens. For the boundaries of this world will shift substantially at that time, and you must be sure your eyes are on the Timeless One, not the circumstances in which you find yourself." Rohan took a moment to digest that, then replied, "Why has this come to me?" "You sought vengeance. You achieved it. You repented, to the point of sacrificing what remains of your life for what is right. You gave yourself for the woman and her child, who, until moments before, you had not known, and this will change your world in its way. You must know, there is now no place for you in your world, your old world. Your place is now here." "I killed my son." "No, you inconvenienced him. He lives yet, but he will not recover the power he misused, and you will not see him again until perhaps you have truly been freed of the mortal cord suspending you from the endless. However, his destiny is not yet known to me, as it has many years remaining." Rohan felt those words deeply, but he knew his feelings were not the important item. He exhaled, inhaled scented, thick air, closed his eyes, opened them, and at last said, "Which way do I go?" Advaita pointed where was the mountainous, tapering, rounded shape with three segments toward the top. The same Rohan spied in the distance and from the sky. The mountainous tree. As Advaita pointed, his body glowed brighter before separating into 1,000 lights like fireflies and fading away, leaving only the furthest end of his index finger drifting toward the rounded thing in the distance. A moment more, and the delicate fingertip became a single firefly, and was soon lost among the rest. Where it went, he could see the ghost of a trail beginning through the gently swaying flowers. He heard Advaita's voice echoing in the placid night. "See that you stray not from the path," it said. And these words reverberated through Rohan's mind until they were gone, and a lonely silence closed in around him once more. He stood still several moments, then abruptly cast his eyes to the endless stars in the sky and cried, "Timeless One! Thank you for this my task, and bless me in its completion." Then he bowed to the ground and pushed the depth of his soul's feeling toward the Timeless One, before standing once more and beginning his journey. His first act was to retrieve his blades from the belly and head of Ajagara, who lay dead just ahead. He used the glowing cube to light his way, and noticed several things that were very curious. The dragon was dead only minutes, yet already there were tiny little flowers growing all over him of every color, and actually shrouding the shape of the beast. How? It was just minutes. Rohan realized he should have asked Advyata about why the tiger and dragon seemed to be out of sequence in time when he entered the darkened world. The second thing he noticed was that Ajagara's limbs were drawn on invisible threads of energy toward the cube, even though the animal was clearly dead. It was a magnetism that was physical. Experimentally, Rohan put the cube atop the dragon's dead flesh, and he had to pull to remove it as the cube nearly attached itself into that increasingly flowered expanse. Having spent decades near and around dragons, Rohan was perplexed at this, as such a state did not define the winged serpents in the world he knew. There was something of the spiritual here, certainly. Rohan ripped his saber from the flowered belly of the beast, but had a harder time getting the other blade from its ear. Finally he did, and wiped the organic matter at the far end on periwinkle blooms that were already thick atop Ajagara's carcass. Jumping down, Rohan regarded the body of the dead dragon several moments, and as he watched in the twilight, he saw its shape gradually flatten, soon becoming part of the hill, covered in flower. None save he and Advyata would ever know that here a mighty battle was fought between man, dragon, and tiger. This did not make Rohan fearful, but he found it disquieting. He turned and began walking where Advaita pointed.